So my distinguished panel starts with Erik Schmude. Woohoo! Let's have a big round of applause for Erik. Erik leads the Central Commercial Services sales team at Dell. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it's like working at Dell today, where they have so many cool things going on. I'm working off of my beautiful new Dell computer at this moment, Erik. So there you go. All right, and next up we have Qabil Shah, and he is with NUTANIX. And man, he is like a major marketing guru. And he knows about sales, and that's what I love. I love a marketing guy that understands sales, right? Shaking a head there. Let's go. Be more enthusiastic about
that.
Sorry,
just me? Okay, yeah, let's do it. Of course.
That's right. Yeah. So thank you, Qabil, for being here. Let's have a big round of applause. Very good. I hear the audience going wild. And of course, we have the distinguished Dr. Dover with us today, all the way from UT Dallas. Let's put our hands together for this man. He knows the complex sale, and he's going to drop some really great bombs on you. All right. Yay, Howard. Woohoo. All right. So I have to do all the cheering here myself because, this is not a live audience. Well, you're live, but I can't hear you. All right. And then last, but certainly not least, our host, the great Usman Sheikh, and he is the founder and CEO of xiQ. We're going to be talking a little bit about all the great things that xiQ is doing in between the thought leadership that we're going to share with you. So, Usman, let's dive in. Things have really changed out there, as you and I know. What the crazy thing is, things have changed, but they haven't changed, right? Like humans still make decisions the same exact way, but their buying behavior has changed so much that salespeople are telling us, hey, it's really hard to get people's attention and get them on the phone so we can have a conversation, or get them on the video so we can have a conversation, or even live. Like we just are having trouble getting people's attention to get a conversation. And then once we're in a deal and working through it, there are so many people involved these days. What is Gartner telling us? It's like around 12 now. And here we go with, I've got to figure out the dynamics of 12 people's brains who are all trying to come to consensus and make a decision. So what do we do?
Great. Thank you. And Alice, first of all, for joining us this morning. And great thank you to all our panelists, Dr. Dover, Qabil, Erik. Great to have you back on our webcast over here. And the great audience that we have over here today. Thank you all for joining in and listening into what we have. So as Alice said, a lot has changed over the last 2 years. And I go back to March 19th, 2020, and Dr. Dover, distinguished Dr. Dover, we had him on a webinar back in March of 2020 talking about what would be the impact of working from home. So we started anticipating that as you said, the buying behaviors are going to change because people are not meeting in person anymore. The events were getting canceled, and that lasted for 2.5 years. But the pandemic, Alice and team, was a catalyst. It was not the driver of this change. The change had already started. And as you said, the number of buyers and decision makers had started to grow. And the buyer and seller, especially the B2B buyer and seller dynamic, changed drastically, right? All the traditional tools that B2B sellers had to be able to assess and understand the needs of their customers, such as in-person meetings, going to people's offices, taking them out to lunch, playing golf, all that got canceled for 2.5 years. Yeah. And in that time period, in this dark zone, what do you do to really understand the traditional selling methods? What do you do to understand how buyers are really thinking? What is their decision-making process? What we also know is that buyers had already started to transition into doing a lot of online research. And the window that they were giving their sellers was late in the decision-making cycle. They were only spending 5% of their time with sellers. They wanted to have less conversation with sellers. 5% of the time was all that sellers were getting to be able to engage, understand, build that relationship. And Alice, as you said, a lot has changed, but a lot of things have not changed. B2B selling still remains a highly emotional, personal process, right? It's my profession. I need to know that the decisions I'm making in terms of selecting the vendors are the right ones, and therefore it is an emotional process. So how do we assess what is the emotional level and gauge that emotional quotient, if you may, of the potential buyer? And not just one buyer now, as you say, more than 12 buyers. What we did not anticipate back in March 2020 was the 40% attrition. And that was another curveball that was thrown to us, which is that 40% of the people that are selling and 40% of the people that are buying are no longer in those roles. They have shifted. So that's a whole lot of new relationships that need to be formed at a time when you have a shorter window and the buyers are doing their research online. What we also know is that 84% of deals are lost because buyers and sellers are not on the same page. They're not discussing, they don't understand each other. 40% of your pipeline is clogged as a result of this as well. Because again, multiple decision makers, we haven't covered all the bases. They've got they're in different stages of their decision-making cycle. So xiQ, to talk about 2.0, was already the world's first AI-powered B2B sales and marketing platform that leveraged psychology to help you understand what was the mindset of your potential buyer. But given this new landscape, we had to do a lot more. And today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we have overhauled our AI algorithm, a complete new UI, user experience redesign, and added new features. And the way we're going to go about doing it is we have the experts. We have Dr. Dover, we have Erik, our client, Qabil, Shah. These are the people we've took inspiration from in helping us redesign. And four things we've kept in place. First of all, xiQ has always been about putting the customer and the individual first. So how do we further enhance the capabilities of the platform to help you understand your prospective buyer? Secondly, as things have gone away from physical into the virtual world, there's a lot of traffic on the digital channels. And vying for the attention in a highly saturated digital channel is really, really important. So how do you win that attention war? And lastly, speed is of essence. Remember that 5% window? We need to have a bullet train that can go through that 5% window when sellers and buyers are actually engaging. And we need to have new infrastructure, consolidate the way we were doing the old fragmented tech stack where information is lost going from one platform to the other platform to the third solution, and time is lost, is not applicable. It just cannot play into the timelines and the demands of what the buyers are expecting. So given this, we have redesigned, and we're going to start this conversation today by having discussions on the key challenges that are faced by B2B sellers and marketers. And then Taylor is going to show us how xiQ addresses that. So with that, Alice, I think we can kick it off with our first panel discussion.
Excellent, excellent. So obviously we want to talk about customer focus. Our customers have a lot to do. I think it's important for us to always remember that we are dealing with humans who have a job and a family and a life. And then on top of all of that, they're on a committee to buy something, right? And then you get involved with them. So let's talk about how you maintain customer focus during a complex sales cycle. And I'm going to have Erik Schmude kick us off.
Hey, Alice, appreciate it. That's a great question. First of all, well, you hit on it. The sales cycles themselves have become much more complex. And it's very important for us to make sure that we're establishing an early connection with our customers. Understanding their personality insights is very important. It's critical to us because, kind of as Usman mentioned, the dynamics have shifted. There's more decision makers. There's more people that you have to connect with, and each person that you have an opportunity to connect with the window to connect is much shorter. They have less time. And so really early connection, understanding the person that you're speaking to, their personality, what drives them, what type of buyer are they? Are they a leader? Are they conscientious? Are they dependent upon what their particular personality is, you can kind of get an idea of what things are going to be important to that customer, so you can tailor your message to best meet their needs. I also think that, look, knowing when you're working with decision makers and multiple stakeholders, you have to understand the dynamics of the group. It's not just one person, but how does the group interact together, and what things are important? Where are the people within the group that you should potentially be spending more time explaining your products and solution to help best meet their needs? But at the end of the day, look, this, xiQ really allows us to get to that connection point with our customers that makes our conversations just so much more effective.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You've got 5, 6, 8, 12 different people all thinking something different and interacting, and you're trying to orchestrate that. And I think that's a really good word for today's sellers. They need to be orchestrators. So Qabil, why don't you chime in on that?
Yeah, thank you, Alice. Thank you for that warm welcome, by the way. Best welcome I've ever had on a Zoom. So yeah, I mean, everything Erik's touched upon, Usman's talked about, these are all the challenges we all have, right, in the workplace today. It's the wealth of information out there to the buyer before they even know about your product. And then also the buying groups increasing in size. I think People AI talked about 12 to 14 in $1 million deal size are now involved, right, in a winning sales cycle. I think the way, that xiQ helps me is with that challenge comes the opportunity and the breadcrumbs of information that our customers leave behind, right? So the data that is left, and we're able to take that data today and then start to use it in a manner that we can target and effectively send messaging and propositions that are truly valuable to the customer based on what they've been looking at, based on their profile. And that's what I really love about these kind of bleeding edge techs like xiQ, AI, machine learning, all these things coming together to give you a very different approach to go and differentiate yourself in this market. You talked about the attention wars. I love that phrase. I think I might have even said it on a prep call. Yes, we had a prep call, I'm going to be honest. So yeah, so I think it's, it's a great term. And I think that's what, you're in trying to win and remain customer focused. And some of the tools we have of our capabilities like AI is really helping do that.
Yeah. So Taylor, why don't you go ahead and actually show us some of this live?
I would love to. I get to do the fun part. So this is xiQ's Sales Accelerator, the one stop for buyer group, company, and industry insights. I am currently on the homepage that hosts relevant target account information. But to show you the power of xiQ live, I'm going to search a name in the navigation bar. In this case, our wonderful moderator, Alice Heiman. You can search a person by first name, last name, company, or title and company. xiQ will then go to every corner of the internet and pull up results within seconds using that proven behavioral science in any publicly available data. We see that Alice is a driver personality type. xiQ then gives me tips on how to communicate and build a relationship with Alice, never having met her before. Alice is self-assured, dynamic visionary, who is charismatic and opinionated in social settings. I can double click and xiQ will provide me with a more detailed breakdown of her personality type. We've added
Taylor, I'm so surprised.
I know that you're bringing the energy this morning. So I see it in the personality type here.
Oh.
And so xiQ, we've added a new feature that predicts my affinity with Alice. Affinity gauges the compatibility between you and the person being viewed. Here I can see Alice and I have a medium affinity. xiQ also recommends how I could best engage Alice. As we are building account plans, I can also check Alice's affinity with other people. As I get to know and engage Alice through the customer journey, xiQ provides more information that is relevant. For example, at the start of me getting to know Alice, I am more interested in finding out her behavior and motivations. But as I engage and get to know her, I want to know how to build trust, communicate, emailing, working together, and most importantly, sell to Alice. xiQ also provides more details on when she's in the news, her social media posts, her career and educational history, and any personal details. This is highly personal preparation that helps me build trust and earn her respect. So now that I understand Alice and I have identified her as a decision maker, I can go ahead and add her to our buyer group. Buyer groups gives me an overview of all my decision makers and helps me uncover who would be a friend, a foe, or a neutral party in my sales engagement. xiQ's AI places individuals into one of 3 different categories of buyers. We have our doers, confident, fast-paced, motivated by success, but could be a polarizing factor. We have our coaches who are problem-oriented, expected to take immediate action. They're risk takers, but can be inconsistent. And then lastly, we have our blockers, those strategic thinkers who tend to be speculative and fearful of failure. So knowing upfront how the different individuals in a buying committee may react helps me lower the risk of getting blindsided.
So we know Elon's going to make it tough for us to get this deal closed.
Exactly. We've all seen his tweets, right? So the highlight tabs pulls all the buyer group social media into one place, eliminating the need to research them one by one, saving that valuable time when doing research.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff that we can do with xiQ. I really just love the way that it's so easy to pull in all the data that you need to start having conversations or continue conversations and understanding how you're going to be able to interact with that person. Thank you so much, Taylor. All right, let's dive into our next question. The complex sales cycles are long, right? We all know that. Things that are making them long is there's so many people on the buy side, so many people on the sell side. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of technical complexities and many other things that are really driving these long sales cycles. So how do you maintain relevance and stay visible and earn the trust of multiple buyers? And we're going to go ahead and start with the distinguished Dr. Dover on that one.
Well, thank you, Alice, for the introduction, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on the call today. I think what's interesting, not only do we have a complex sale, I like some of Gartner's work around this, around the jobs to be done framework, and this reality that unfortunately, not only, as Usman pointed out, there's not only 12 people, they're changing. And so when you get a deal that's going down, the question is, if you think it's at close, really is it at problem identification because a new person entered the field? And all of a sudden, the personality of that individual is very key. Yeah. And so I think understanding both where the individual, not just the team, and then also identifying where is that person from a psychological or personality standpoint, where are they from a buying standpoint? And this all requires us to be very situationally aware, which means knowing exactly where things are at versus assuming that we're somewhere in our sales process. So I think the day of processing a customer is gone. I think the day of being situationally relevant is here.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. We absolutely have to be situationally relevant. And I do believe that is something that we need to start training salespeople to do, because I don't think it's something that comes naturally to everyone. So Erik, what do you think?
Wow, you couldn't have said it better. This is incredible. The situational awareness that our sales reps have to have, when you think about it, they're not just working one deal with, perhaps a team of people that they're trying to, convince that we've got a good solution for. They're working multiple deals. In many instances, 50, 100 plus deals or so. So maintaining this situational awareness becomes infinitely more challenging. So how do we do it? I think, first of all, having a mechanism that's easy to kind of gain insights on key events, for example. So our customers, they expect value out of every conversation that we have. And you can't pick up the phone or send an email with the same information. You want to have some really good things that you can talk about that's relevant to your engagement with that customer. Things such as mergers and acquisitions. Those are great topics for us to kind of open a conversation and expand a conversation based upon a sales campaign that we're working on with the customer. So we use a lot of these insights really easily. We're able to do keyword searches and pull information in, get articles in front of our customers, whether they're current events or industry insights, have a touch point with the customer, a quality touch point with the customer. And in many instances, it really opens the door for us to stay connected in these very long and lengthy sales cycles. The cool thing about it is I can take that same message and really get it to the entire buying group. And now the buying group is interacting and they're collaborating. And the best thing for us is when we're all together on the same page. And I think that this situational awareness and the simplicity to kind of get that information in and weave it into your strategy is very important for us.
Oh, Erik, I so totally agree with you. And I think what you said about salespeople, managing so many accounts at one time, how do they zoom in when they're ready, right before, a call, they're doing their call planning, they're meeting with their team, and they need that situational awareness. I've heard some crazy things, a company lays people off and a salesperson's calling them about something that is totally irrelevant to them at that moment in time because they're worried about human beings, being laid off. And so we just need to be more sensitive. And so that situational awareness becomes so crucial. I love that we can find the trigger events right there in xiQ. So Taylor, show us how we can find those trigger events and then be able to talk to people about them. And like Erik said, bring the whole team in around some of those trigger events that we find.
Exactly, Alice. So in addition to knowing our buyers, we also need to be aware of what's happening within the company today. So just like I can search for a person, I can search for a company in the search bar. In this case, I pulled up Dell Technologies, and xiQ provides a detailed dossier on Dell. At the very top is an overview of the company, what they do, key financial metrics, top executives, and more. As we scroll down, sales triggers are the company news categorized into 21 different triggers. I can filter these sales triggers by selecting categories that are most relevant to me, saving me precious time and giving me precise information that is of value to my specific sales objectives. I can then get a Cliff Notes version of the article or read it in its entirety. And then once I find an article that is of value, I can easily start to share this information with my prospect or share it on social media to impress them with my situational awareness. By sharing,
I love that piece, Taylor. I want to just pause you there for a second because we can't always keep sending sales messages and hey, did you see my last sales message? We need some good content to send them, and this is so crucial.
Yeah, by sharing these insightful news, xiQ makes it easy for sales reps to project their subject matter expertise, building their personal brand as a thought leader.
Love it.
Trending within a company help me understand what's top of mind in my target accounts. And shortly, I will show you how we can mobilize this information to drive engagement. xiQ also provides the social media posts by executives from the company's Twitter. Staff Insights provides me a list of top executives, so I no longer have to go search for those. We get their personality types, news about them, their social media posts. I can track all the staff that I follow, as well as other notable staff that might be of interest to me. The financial tab gives me quick access to the fiscal health of a company, including those key performance indicators, latest earnings, annual reports, SEC filings, all in one location. This information is available to me on my mobile device, so I can get prepared in minutes while traveling or even waiting for a meeting to start. xiQ then sends me real-time daily alerts, so I don't miss out on what's happening in my accounts. A lot of clients have attributed winning deals to being the first responders to that breaking news that xiQ provides.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love that. Breaking news. Yes. And we need it right in front of our face so we can take an action immediately. And this is what it provides for salespeople that they really need today. All right. So we need to win the attention war. As I started with when I was introducing everyone and talking about how, the way we make a decision hasn't changed, but our buying behavior has changed. And just think about the amount of information you get in a day. Well, your buyers are getting the same amount, and you've got to get their attention somehow so you can have that first conversation with them. And then when you're in the middle of the sales cycle, I always have salespeople telling me that, oh, my prospects are ghosting me, right? It's because you're not keeping their attention and engaging them, but it's also because they're just busy. So we have to give them something that's important enough, right, to pull them back in and engage with us. So I think that there's so many things out there. Of course, all the digital stuff, just what's happening in our own businesses and our lives. It's all pulling on us. So Qabil, how do you manage that with your sales team? How do you help them win that attention war?
So I think when everything you've talked about, Alice, and it's a huge challenge, obviously, with so much information out there and everyone trying to get this attention of the end user in these buying groups. I've talked before about this kind of 6-second window to capture someone's attention. And I feel for me, it comes down to 3 simple things. And when I've talked before, and people, marketers that I follow in this industry also say the same things. It's about timing, relevance, and format. So, what am I talking to them about with the buying triggers? That really helps me, right? The sales triggers, what's happening in their world. Then there's how do I build relevance with what they're talking about and what I have, or what a third party has, bringing that together, bringing something credible. And then finally is the format you provide it in, right? So not everyone's going to want email after email. I mean, I've had so many instances where people are just sending me LinkedIn mail, and I'm like, I don't want to be rude because I know what you're trying to do, and we're all in the same kind of role, so I'll politely reply. But I think that's what's critical for me. It's kind of timing, relevance, and then in a format that person wants to have that in. And that's again where xiQ helps us a little bit with the personality profile, right? If it's someone who's very quick to just wants to see a tweet, I'm going to send them a tweet, right? If it's someone who wants in-depth analysis, I'm going to send them a white paper. So that's where I feel winning the attention wars is all about timing, relevance, and the format. And then the final thing I'd say on that, this attention war in this 6-second window, is from the marketing viewpoint, and this is where it helps sales. To capture someone, you have to think about what kind of imagery they want to see, what kind of content they want to see, what colors do they like. I know this sounds really crazy, but in 6 seconds, all of those things have got to count for you. If you think about it in your personal life, in the B2C world, right? Why do we relate to some products and we don't? So these things are becoming more important in the B2B world. And in that attention war, marketing and sales are going to be unified in winning that piece.
Yes, so much so. I mean, that 6 seconds, I think, is so crucial. We do have to catch people's attention. I love what you said. The timing, the relevance, and the format. Those are all important. You can't leave any of them out. So that's why xiQ can help us by bringing all of those things together for us and making it quick and easy. So Erik, how is your team using that, and how's that working?
Wow, yeah. So that's first of all, Qabil. I love it. I love the acronyms here. The 3 things that I can go after on that one. I never thought about it in those terms. But look, to me, it's a combination of what Taylor said and you said for us, and that is our customers want us. They expect us to be thought leaders. And it's not enough to go have this content in our fingertips and forward it over. It really gives us a good mechanism for us to get different perspectives on technologies and the market and the industry and competitors. We take that information, we absorb it, we use that to build, upon that to become a trusted advisor for our customers. So then when we're bringing that information to our customers, to your point, it's very relevant. It's relevant because we're taking our experience, we're applying what they're doing, what we know about our customers, and bringing it all together for them to really help them understand the solution. And when we have quality customer interactions like that, you'd be surprised. People start picking up the phones, people start responding to emails, and it's just a great win-win for both the customer as well as us. But look, overall, you couldn't be more accurate. Timing is extremely important. Relevance is extremely important, and definitely the format. So I like all of those things, and all of those go together around becoming a trusted advisor.
100%. And I think today, we're all so busy, and there's a lot of things I'd like to read, but don't get a chance. But if somebody sends me something that, oh gosh, Alice, I read this and thought you'd be interested in it, I'm like, wow, thanks for taking the time to do that, right? Like I tend to send people some of the Gartner research because I read it all the time, like Dr. Dover does. And I'm like, oh, this is so pertinent to you. So I send it to them, right? And then I give them a couple of lines about why I think they were interested in this. Now, I have to seek that all out on my own right now. But if I have xiQ on, then it's feeding this stuff to me that I tell it to feed, right? And things that I know will be relevant. And it's so quick and easy. So Taylor, let's talk about that. Let's show them how it actually works.
Of course. So now that I'm prepared at the individual and company level, gaining the attention of my prospect is the next big challenge for me. So using xiQ's workbench, I'm going to orchestrate my outreach and develop my engagement strategy. Like you said today, educating your prospective buyers on topics that is of critical importance to them is really the key to gaining their attention. With xiQ Workbench, I can easily generate this content that is current and relevant. And I can do this by simply clicking on the keywords of topics trending at a company, or I can use my own keywords. In this case, I added key terms related to B2B sales and marketing. So we have B2B sales and marketing, personality-driven selling, and ABM and marketing. Like a search engine, xiQ will go to every corner of the internet and find the most relevant articles from the most reliable sources. I can quickly preview each article to determine if it's something that I would like to communicate with my target audience. And then the really cool part is I can just drag and drop it to create a new email campaign. xiQ allows me to publish this through multiple channels, including sending emails directly from xiQ or through my Outlook. But again, if you're trying to build that thought leadership, you can also start to publish this on Twitter, on LinkedIn, where people are really sitting every day and posting. xiQ 2.0 is introducing another innovation we call dynamic audience matching. I can upload my contact list to xiQ, and the AI identifies the personalities for me and the key topics of interest for each person in my list. And what's really revolutionary is that I can select the most optimum audience by typing in the key topics I want to share. And xiQ will sort my contact list based on who would be most likely to read that content. So here you see I type cybersecurity. I hit save, and xiQ will automatically go reprioritize my list, again, finding the most people to be engaged with that current content. And we see that they all have those colored rings, so you can segment by personality type as well if that's something that you're going for. xiQ makes it really simple and easy and quick. By only investing about 30 minutes each week, I can generate a digest that I can share with my audience. And my engagement rates are 2 to 5 times those of those traditional marketing campaigns. And this is how xiQ helps me win that attention war, Alice.
Wow, it's amazing. And I love that digest because you can send, hey, here's some stuff you might have missed this week that is relevant to you. I'm preparing that for you and providing it to you. I love it. Thank you so much. All right, on to engagement analytics measures. Okay, well, don't get me started because we could be on this topic all day and we don't have that much time. But I do want to let a few of you chime in on this one because I think traditionally, we've been measuring like how many dials, how many emails, how many LinkedIn connections, right? And none of that is really relevant anymore because really the only thing that matters is a conversation. When we have conversations with people that can possibly buy from us, introduce us to others, and move things forward. So these old metrics just really aren't working for us, and we're failing miserably at it. I mean, the volume isn't creating what we want. So we've got to make some changes and think about what we're measuring in a different way. So Qabil, what are you doing, on measuring today? What's changed, and how do you look at it?
Yeah, I think for a long time now, and it's been kind of a bugbear for me as well, being in the industry for a while, was all around number of dials and, click-through rates and things like that, like you mentioned. And I feel even that, just measuring the individual channels. Now, there is some merit to it, but there isn't the merit that I think that should be there, especially if we're going to talk about attention wars, winning people's attention, spending quality time, quality customer touch points. And then we're going to talk about how many lists we uploaded and how many click-through rates, right? It doesn't make sense. So I think for me, what we try to do, or what I look to do, is say how many meaningful engagements and how much time am I spending. So if I know that I have 10 accounts I really care about, right? I really care about. These are the 10 that are going to make our company as much money as they can, right? Say if I work for a company or whatever it is, but focusing on top accounts. Then I want to go after those buyers and have meaningful conversation, build a relationship, and drive engagement minutes. I don't really want to know about click-through rates from places we don't really care about, right? So it's kind of like, click-through rates can show you the wrong measures. So I think it's about measuring those meaningful, impactful customer touch points, which I believe is value for the company, but it's also value for the customer, because it's showing that you're giving them quality too, right? So that's how that's how I would like marketers to move forward and start looking at these measurements, going from your traditional funnels that have been around for 15, 20 years and start coming into these engagement minutes, engagement touch points, and start moving in that direction.
Meaningful engagements. I mean, that is just really so important. It doesn't matter that I emailed 1,000 people.
Right.
And it doesn't even matter that they opened. It matters whether they took an action that's meaningful, right? Whether we're getting their attention with the content, whether they booked a conversation. So we need to really focus on these meaningful engagements. Erik, how does that impact you and your team?
I love the discussion. It's very relevant. So my first thought was my very first job, in which I would have to turn in a telephone book that had circles around names or X's, and that was my form of measurement. And we've certainly come a long way. So, the way that we look at it, first of all, the number one measurement for us is, are our customers satisfied? What is the net promoter score of our customers? Are they happy doing business with Dell? But the challenge with that is it's a lagging indicator. So a lagging indicator is really the effects of what your teams have done. So the next step back from that is, okay, how are you doing as it relates to the goals in the territory? Again, somewhat of a lagging indicator. So then you back it into, all right, well, what are you doing within your territory? How are you engaging your customers? What's coming through? How do you measure a quality customer touch? What does it look like? Yeah. And what tools and processes are you leveraging to have that quality customer touch? And we, for us, it's kind of there's a lot of data out there, and there's a lot of places that we can go to get information. But look, one of the things that I like as a leader, and our reps like it as well, is just the ability within the xiQ platform to look at your engagement as a sales rep. And they've got some really cool gamification features. And what's funny is I have sales reps on my team sending me emails saying, hey, you need to get these people going, because we only have a certain amount of red belts or black belts. And I really enjoy that. So it really kind of gets everybody motivated around doing the right thing.
Doing activity that matters, not just doing activity, right?
That's
Getting
right.
those meaningful connections, and I think that is so key. Yeah, so key. I love that. All right, well, good. So Dr. Dover, do you have anything that you wanted to add there on engagement analytics?
Well, I think I love what Jason Jordan said a few years ago. He wrote Cracking the Sales Management Code around activities, right? And I think Jason would be upset today with where we're at because of the fact that technology has leapfrogged our ability to manage what we see. And so we don't have time to go into it, but those that would like to look at it, all I would like to say is suitcase farmers. Look at suitcase farmers that cause the Dust Bowl in the Four Corners areas of the earth. We live in an ecosystem that's full of a Dust Bowl by people who use metrics to make decisions and blast and create the attention war.
Yeah, you are
So that's where we're at.
So true, so true. All right, so Taylor, show us how we're going to change the metrics, the way people are thinking about metrics.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Alice. So xiQ pushes those engagement analytics beyond the traditional channel-based metrics, such as those open rates and click-through rates, to more meaningful measurements. Who's engaging with which content, and most importantly, what they're interested in. xiQ provides out-of-the-box lead scoring at an individual in company. We prioritize those top accounts, top people, and the top content at accounts. You can double-click into a company to see, again, those open rates and click rates, but again, who are the most top engaged individuals? And more importantly, what are the key topics that are resonating across the company, including those key concepts, those keywords, and those entities. But xiQ is all about that one-to-one level and goes further and allows me to click on an individual to see their individual analytics. So here I double-clicked into Axel so we can see the campaigns he's subscribed to, but then the concepts and keywords that he's interested in, again, on that one-to-one level. So now xiQ have served me up my who I should reach out to, my what he's interested in, content marketing ROI, talent marketing, marketing proofs. And now all I need is my how. How do I communicate this information to Alex in a way that makes sense to him? And so this is where I can go to Sales Accelerator and see how I would communicate this information in the best way possible, having never met Alex before. And this new capability allows me to hyper-personalize my outreach based on the topics my prospects are interested in. No more anonymous intent data guesswork that we all hear about. And Alice, my favorite part about xiQ and the icing on the cake for me is xiQ's where I'm working in Outlook, in Gmail, in my CRM, available at my fingertips. Here, every time I'm ready to write an email, xiQ generates the individual's profile and complete information on that company on the right-hand side, allowing me to leverage these insights to hyper-personalize every outreach to every single prospect with ease.
I love it. Everywhere you want to be, right? And just so happens you had Visa up there, so I had to say that. Everywhere you want to be, right? It's Visa. But it's great to have all of that at our fingertips and not have to go searching for it, opening multiple tabs on our computer and slowing everything down, right?
Exactly. It's where you're working.
All right, so we are on to consolidation. We today, we bog our salespeople down with so many things. It kills me, right? I'm sitting here thinking to myself, every time I run into a new company and start working with them, it's like, your salespeople are good at selling, and yet you have them doing all these other things that they're not very good at, taking up their time and putting them into a mood that isn't really going to help them generate the conversations that they need. So I think we really have to take a look at what are we asking people to do. We've got all these tools, right? And there's a lot of consolidations. People are trying to put things inside of the CRM and make one place for our salespeople to work. But it's hard, and we do need to consolidate, optimize, and we absolutely need to help our salespeople move the sales cycle along. So it keeps moving in it and doesn't, get out of control. So Dr. Dover, what do you say?
Well, I think you have to start off with CRM was never designed to help the salesperson. And
Oh yeah, don't get me started on that one.
so the challenge we have is we have automation that's designed to help in pipeline management and quarterly reviews and being able for publicly traded companies to be able to make a call on the quarterly earnings calls. And so that's why CRM is there. Unfortunately, that does relatively little to the salesperson. And so what happens is we get salespeople who are migrating into platforms that are helping them actually do their job. And or companies choosing platforms or point solutions, really is what they're called. They're little things that do a really cool thing, but I have to open like 15 screens to get it done. And so then we get, it's this war between the IT group saying, hey, you can't do that, and the salesperson going rogue and buying whatever they want. And the challenge becomes, obviously, VC capital has just feeded the frenzy of all this. So we have a lot of venture capital firms that fund a point solution with the goal of being acquired by a Salesforce.
That's right.
Or some of the other big unicorns that have developed in the space. Naturally, the challenge becomes from an organizational standpoint as this becomes uncontrollable. And so the consolidation of the marketplace just makes sense. CRM isn't going to be it because it doesn't do the job. So it's something that lays on top and works with the CRM, but actually enhances. And so the consolidation of this is key to create productivity. And those companies who have done it have actually shown increased productivity. Some of the work by Microsoft in this space is ridiculously impressive. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we have to start looking at this differently, and we really have to think about what we're feeding to our salespeople to use. I mean, the goal is to make it easier to be our customer. If we make it hard to be our customer, we don't close deals. When we make it easy to be our customer, guess what? We're making it easier on our sellers as well. And so we really do have to think about all of these tools and how we're using them to really help our customers buy.
Alice, can I do a taboo here and rephrase here for a second?
Go ahead.
I would add to the fact that in the fight for talent today, making it easier to be the seller is the war for talent that people need to be thinking about.
Yes.
Because the customer, if I have an empowered and augmented salesperson, the customer is going to have a better experience. And companies that have invested in this are going to find they can perform better, and the talent will appreciate the fact that they've consolidated things and provided augmented capacity for the salesperson.
Yeah. Qabil, let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting what Dr. Dover said. I remember some research, might be related, might not be, that junior physicians in the UK were picking NHS trusts based on the technology available and the simplicity of use. And I think you can carry that use case back across to sellers and making it simple for them at an organization. I mean, some of what he talked about there with the the VC capital and all the different pieces coming. Sometimes you do get excited by all these new technologies, right? You see them and you're like, wow, I can track someone's IP address. That was cool, like maybe 10 years ago, right? But now I can track the individuals' likes, dislikes, and what they're surging on. I think what Taylor showed you, that real differentiator there, technology advances. And I think the more simple we can make it, and especially in this current environment, the cost consideration. So I think for me, cost consideration is one thing I always think about. Then I think about impact of the tech, like what is it really doing at the sharp end for the sales guy, right? And mainly for the customer, right? Is it really supporting us there? And if those two things measure up, then we're very happy. And I think xiQ for us helps us consolidate or converge, which is something where NUTANIX came from, about convergence, was converging some different areas together in a very simplistic manner. And that's truly helpful because it's AI, machine learning, it's doing all of those different things. I don't know how you can get some RPA involved, Usman, but some other key areas, 5G, then you've got everything packaged into one. But yeah, I think we've got some really bleeding edge tech working and consolidating a lot of key areas for marketing. Yeah,
absolutely. So Usman, can you show us some of the cost consolidation that's going on? And the tech stacks, they're gone from here to here, like just too much.
Yeah, exactly. And just to everything that the panel has said and what Dr. Dover said, today we have about salespeople are dealing with about 16 solutions on average. That means they have to get trained on 16 solutions. They have to deal with 16 different user interfaces, and not to mention the cost that's embedded in connecting those 16 solutions to talk to each other. And so the dollars that are lost in there, the time that's lost in there, and the intelligence that's lost in there. Given the backdrop of being agile, having only 5% of the decision makers' time to convince them. So one of the things that we did in our rethink of how B2B sales and marketing works is that we took out the word sales and marketing. And instead, we started looking at it from the outside in versus from the inside out. And we classify xiQ as a customer engagement lifecycle platform. Customers don't care whether they're talking to salespeople, they're talking to marketing people. They want to have one value-added, unified user experience with the company. So I hate to use this word, actionable intelligence, but xiQ is about that actionable intelligence. And it's made up in three key solution areas. One, the sales accelerator. This is where we look up the buyer groups, the company, the industry, share that knowledge. Use that to project our subject matter expertise and build our personal brand so our prospects can start relying on us. This is reflected on the screen in the green chevrons. The second is the action, the engagement, right? So now that I know who the people are that I need to engage, and I'm well versed in that and done that very, very quickly in short order, I need to have the content to start engaging with them, and content that my audience, my prospect is going to be interested in, not what I want to sell to them, but what they're interested in hearing that. So dynamic audience matching, as Taylor showed earlier, allows us to tap into what people are saying, what their digital breadcrumbs are out there, and understand what are the topics that are of interest to us. And conversely, on the other side, our machine learning and AI engine finds the most relevant content, allows you to map that to your marketing collateral. So now you have this very healthy mix of education and selling, awareness and selling together. What our experience has been, it's like 5 to 10 times the engagement of traditional marketing campaigns. And this is a really big game changer. And this is done through the workbench, again, seamlessly integrated, one platform, xiQ. And lastly, the analytics. The analytics in xiQ fall into two categories. One, which is to help us allow to understand what my audience is doing, what my prospects are doing, how they're engaging with my content, and what is top of mind for them. We can call that first party intent data. But there's another aspect of this. If you have the best technology in the world and it's shelfware, it's lying somewhere unused or hated, just to kind of go back to one thing that was said earlier by Dr. Dover about CRM, we have to be at a place to be able to distinguish between tools that are meant for sales management and marketing automation versus tools that actually help you sell, right? This is a big difference. And those 16 solutions that we're looking at right now are tools that are designed to help automate or around managing the pipeline. So xiQ changes that. And one of the things that we have done that Erik referred to earlier was introduce gamification. So within xiQ today, we have this concept of Sales Sigma, derived from the Six Sigma concept, which GE introduced a long time ago. And Sales Sigma ranks the users of xiQ, the users of the platform, based on how much they've been consuming information and getting prepared about their accounts. Preparedness is very key to winning that attention war, to winning the hearts and minds of your multiple prospects that are out there. And as Erik, gave us the proof points on this, and we know this, people in his team are very concerned that they're earning the right badges. Sales Sigma and xiQ measures at the individual level and assigns different belts. If you're certified on xiQ, how much time you're spending learning about, how many people you're looking up, if you're responding to company alerts, if you're sharing information in social media networks. all of those starts adding up. Great tool for managers and leaders like Qabil and Erik.
Yes. So let's hear from both of them real quick, Usman, on adoption as we start to wrap up now. We've just got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah. Erik,
So,
go for it.
Erik, yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to look. Adoption is an interesting thing because sales historically a little bit slow to adopt things. And the key to sales adopting is really, are they finding value in the tool? And do they have demonstratable value? Is it easy to use? Is what they're doing making a difference? And so some of the things that we've just, kind of went through from a standpoint of, emails and articles sent and who's reading it and, the appropriate amount of value that's added, it helps them to understand that, hey, you know what? This tool is adding value. This is a great thing that I can take to, my customers to help build that. So, and then the last thing is it's kind of fun. Our sales makers enjoy the belt levels and some of the banter that we have around, the gamification aspect of it. So those are the things that help us with adoption.
Yeah. And you don't get adoption unless the salespeople find it useful, and fun helps, right, Qabil?
You're on mute, Qabil.
I put myself on mute, sorry. And I was like, yeah, fun definitely helps. No, absolutely. The gamification side of it makes it a very, very fun exercise. I love the concept of, bringing that Six Sigma in. But yeah, I think, salespeople and a few of them on the call today, most discerning palate ever, right? If they don't like something, they're not going to use it. So I think that shows you the true validation when you see salespeople in the field in that sharp end with so many things being thrown at them, adopting the tool. That's the biggest win you can have.
Very good. Very good. Oh my gosh. It's just the time goes by so fast when we're having so much fun discussing all these amazing things, right? But just to wrap up, and I do want to let everyone know that if you want to stay for, 5 minutes, we'll answer your questions. I know there's one question in the Q&A right now that I'm sure someone on the team can type the answer to, because that's a very direct question about how to use the tool. So let's get that accomplished. And then if you have questions, please connect with all of us on LinkedIn. And please feel free to send us your questions if they don't get answered here today, but we will stay on for about 5 minutes just to make sure that your questions do get answered. Well, what we want to really wrap up with is, so what are we doing here? How are we going to make this all work together? We have this evolution that's happened, and it's funny because people are saying, oh, buying is personal. Well, that's nothing new. As we started with, buyers still make decisions the same way, right? It is emotional, whether you're making a business decision or a personal decision. It's just that now we're shining a light on it because conditions have changed. So we have to really think about the people, the humans involved, and what makes them tick and what drives their behavior and how they interact. And we maybe haven't had to do that as much in the past, but we absolutely have to do it now. And this is where xiQ comes in to help us with that. So, if we're looking at these ROI drivers, agility, right? We have to be agile right now. It's super important for us to make sure that our teams can be agile. We want higher win rates. Everyone's complaining, that the sales cycles have gotten longer because there's so many people involved and so many other factors. And we need those higher win rates and conversion. So again, we've got to have tools that actually help salespeople do this. And oh my goodness, like who doesn't need to unclog their pipeline? I mean, who wants a constipated pipeline? No one. But yet we have them, and we need to help salespeople understand how to move these deals forward so they're not just all stuck right there. And, then our sales leaders are beating on us, right? And we're saying, but they're ghosting us. So we have to have ways to break up these clogs and move these deals through the pipeline. And of course, what do we all want? We want bigger deals faster. That's what we all want. But that starts with one simple thing: a salesperson having a conversation with someone who can buy. And if we don't start there, we're never going to get those bigger deals faster. So we have to have these tools available to help salespeople really understand the humans that are involved in making these decisions. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank my distinguished panel. I want to thank xiQ for hosting, and Usman for putting this together and bringing this panel together. Taylor for showing us how this tool works and how it can help us. Erik, Qabil, Dr. Dover, thank you very much. Big round of applause.
And thank you to you, Alice, and to the entire panel as well for joining us today. Really, really insightful and helpful for us. We did this for our clients, and you as our advisors guided the way. So all of this, we applied design thinking to things that you've been talking to us, and we've invented a new way of how you engage and sell across multiple decision makers. So again, thank you so much for your inputs and your guidance to us.